Hey, it is time for top story now here on France 24. Will it be the state landau or the glass carriage? Will the bride's headdress be fresh flowers or a tiara? And how long will the groom be kept cooling his heels at the altar? All questions that will be answered in around 24 hours' time, in fact, as Britain counts down to its biggest royal event in 30 years. It's Friday's marriage of the heir to the throne, Prince William, to a so-called commoner, Kate Middleton of Bucklebury, England. Well, for more, I'm joined by our international affairs editor turned royal correspondent for the day, His Royal Highness Douglas Herbert.
Good morning, Sir Stuart.
Where's your crown?
Left it on my desk. Could ready get it.
Okay, all right. Now, look, being serious about this, just for a few minutes, though, 2 billion people around the world going to be watching this royal wedding tomorrow. But in Britain, it's being promoted as a break from the country's woes and perhaps a bit of a renewal of the monarchy itself, do you think?
Well, it's not our fault. We Americans have been keeping the monarchy alive. In safekeeping for you Brits as you've been bashing it. Yeah. No, but the fact is, you're absolutely right. This is sort of being pitched as a rebranding of the monarchy. And, you know, I hardly have to remind everyone of the serial woes that this monarchy has been through since that so-called fairy tale wedding back in 1981, Charles and Diana. Now, Britain has had kings and queens for more than 1,000 years. Nothing new there, and we can't even imagine what Shakespeare would have done without a monarchy. He would have had no characters in any of his plays. This past generation, by any historical reckoning, is seen as one of the harder ones. 3 of 4 of Queen Elizabeth's children have had divorces. That's what, a 75% divorce rate, higher than the 40% divorce rate of the average British couple of everything. Prince Charles's own divorce to Diana was really seen as a seminal event in the history of the monarchy. We all remember it. It really led to that slow, inexorable slide in the monarchy's popularity. What didn't help any was the reaction, or the belated reaction afterwards, after the divorce and after Diana died in the tragic car crash back in '97. The Queen took several days to come out and react, and then it was only at the behest of the then very new New Britannia Prime Minister Tony Blair. And remember all of his talk about the People's Princess. He spoke of Diana as that People's Princess.
And that came out in that very famous film, The Queen, didn't it?
The Queen, exactly. And the talk of the People's Princess, you have to remember what that meant for the other side. It's sort of the insinuation was in there is that if she was the People's Princess, what did that make the Queen and the rest of the royal family? They were these distant, sort of aloof family, unconcerned about the ordinary cares of Britons, unlike Diana. This is really trying to be seen as a return to the monarchy as a family that would be in touch with the concerns of ordinary Britons, at touch with sort of the identity of Britain as a whole.
It does seem to be something that's really divides the British people. There are some people who are fully in favour of the monarchy, love it to bits. There are other people who are perhaps a little bit less gung-ho and still want to see it abolished, saying it's just not relevant
anymore. Do away with it. No. You know, Stuart, we talk about, the term is the Republican movement, and when you talk about Republicans in Britain, these are people who are opposed to the very notion that a wealthy clan of monarchs with inherited class and privileges should be the heads of state, should be sovereigns over all of Britain. They say that is bogus in these modern times. You should have heads of states who are duly elected by the people, who are not inherited wealth, who are self-made people, and who have actual talent to do so. But the flip side of that argument, obviously, is a vast majority of Britons, and it's held steady, basically, in recent years, despite all of the ups and downs and vicissitudes of the monarchy. The Republican movement's only about up to 20%, 1/5 of the British population. Vast majority, 3/4 or more, either really support the monarchy or tolerate it, which is, you know, that's a big category there. You have a lot of street parties. Some people say they've gotten a tepid reception, the whole idea of holding your own community street party to celebrate the wedding. Yet there are people in their communities who will be sitting down at long party tables and street parties and celebrating tomorrow. They say that, yeah, fine, the critics could carp all they want about the British taxpayer shelling out all this money to support this lavish royal family. But the fact is, those who support the monarchy says, in the end, it's a net positive result. They project a positive image and aura of Britain. Britain's good at kings and queens. It's good for the tourism, as I just said. My first visit to Britain was because I think Buckingham Palace, changing of the guard. But I will say this, there will be some protests. The Republicans are going to have sort of a not the royal wedding alternative street party tomorrow. There have been a lot of the police stepping up security, preemptive sort of arrests because they fear some anarchists, all of that. So there is a solid minority, small minority, that is very much against the monarchy and is not shy about showing it.
Exactly. What about William himself, and also Kate Middleton as well? I mean, he's pretty popular, isn't he? I mean, he seems to be sort of steering the monarchy in the right course, and as you say, returning the monarchy to traditional values.
It's interesting. Now, I personally like William. It's also, he happens to be losing hair like I have, so, that's one of my affinities with William. But no, he's always been seen as sort of the Queen's favorite, the grandson, more than the Queen's relationship with Charles. Charles was seen as a little eccentric in his interests, his hobbies, quirky, a big environmentalist. He was seen as not quite fitting into the traditional mold of the royal family. And William, in this respect, is seen as more of a throwback to that royal tradition. He likes hunting. He likes polo playing. He hangs out with blue bloods and aristocracy. His inner circle is all aristocracy. Some say too much. But he also has a common touch. He loves football. He's known for playing pickup games in certain royal parks in London. He surprises people by showing up. And he's a person, he's been very involved in Africa, in charities, and he said to the trauma of losing his mother and those images that everyone remembers of him and his brother Prince Harry marching mournfully behind that coffin stay with a lot of Britons. He's seen as a man who has grown up under trying circumstances, a young man who has endured a lot and who's done so and shown a great strength of character through very hard times, has endured it pretty nobly in the end. So yeah, William is seen as a changer, and Kate as well. He's lived with Kate, which would have been unthinkable in the past before marrying. Yeah. They've been together 8 years, they've lived together for part of that, and that's also sort of a touch of modernization in the monarchy.
Very true, very true. Finally, you mentioned the Americans, who of course love the monarchy. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them. The French. We're here in Paris. Of course, the French cut off their own king's head in their revolution. But they still seem to have that abiding fascination. I mean, you only have to walk down the street and all the press stalls are full of magazines with pictures all over the front of it and everything.
It's all over the place, as we heard earlier today in our press review. The Figaro newspaper this morning has Le Figaro and You, with, the big blazoned images of the royal family on their covers and everything. But yeah, I think the French have what you might call a little bit of guillotine guilt. They did chop off Louis XVI's head back in 1793. Some have never really gotten over that. It's a big act. And there's been a flirtation with monarchy. There's a small fringe movement in France of monarchists, of political monarchy parties. And there's that love-hate relationship and that fascination that, yes, Britain does its monarchy very well. And even though the French is very secular as a republic, the modern France, and it's anti-monarchical, you look at their leaders, and a lot of people would say they're very monarchical in their styles, aloof, above the fray. Sure. Charles de Gaulle, Jacques Chirac, all of these leaders. So they almost emulate the gestures and the ruling mores of the monarchy. So it's very interesting. I think the French, some people say it's just the French press, but I think deep down there is a fascination with what's going on. And even though they won't admit it, I think a lot of French will be tuning in tomorrow.
Will be tuning it in. All right. Now, you enjoyed your new job?
Every day. Let's get the royals in every day to our discussions.
International Affairs correspondent no more. Royal correspondent Douglas Herbett. He was a star here on France 24. And don't forget as well, France 24 is going to have full coverage of the wedding tomorrow. Our coverage with Hannah Moffat, in fact, starts at 11:30 a.m. Paris time. That's at 10:30 a.m. English time, if you're going to be watching us from there. Enjoy the wedding if you're going to be watching. Douglas, thanks again. More, of course, with Lorna coming up very shortly on France 24. Stay tuned.
Watch all of France 24 on France24.com. It now features more content and is quicker and easier to use. 24 hours a day, wherever you are, visit our website and catch up on all the latest news. Watch the channel in high definition. Pause live TV and watch programs from the past 24 hours at the click of a button. Find our reports, programs and web documentaries in seconds. All of France 24 in French, English and Arabic on France24.com.